Welcome back. I'm Teresa Harding, and I have a question for you. What if I told you that the words we say don't always come from words? Yeah, you heard me right, and I'll explain what I mean. We all know communication is key in our lives. If we cannot communicate with other people, we can't have relationships, we can't keep a job. There are so many things we cannot do if we cannot communicate well. But communication is so much more complex than just our verbal dialogue. This is something that might be a surprise for some of you. According to Dr. Albert Mehrabian, he's a pioneer researcher in nonverbal communication. He says that only 7% of communication comes from the actual words we use. 38% is from the tone of our voice, and a staggering 55% comes from our body language. And the way we talk to people, the message they receive from us can profoundly affect our lives. Now, there are different research studies that show different percentages, but that is one that is well respected. What are the different ways that communication affects our lives? For example, have you ever had a conversation with someone who said they were fine, but they cross their arms, their face is tense, and they have this icy tone, and it completely lets you know that is not true. They are not fine. Or think about a child who comes to you beaming. They're so excited and their eyes are bright and there's a spring in their step and they haven't said a word. You know exactly what they're feeling. They're communicating something to you. We've all been there, and that is the power of nonverbal communication. I can remember one time I was talking with a client and we were actually working on her business. But as we were talking, the words she used were words that told me she wanted to work on her business. But her demeanor and her body language told me there was something much deeper going on that we had to figure out first before we could even work on her business. And as I started digging a little deeper, because I noticed those cues, she started responding. And the more she felt like I meant it and I cared, she started opening up more. And within a short time, we were both crying together, and she was sharing some very vulnerable things that were personal challenges for her about the way she believed about herself, the things she thought about herself, and what she believed she was capable of. And we were able to start from there and make powerful strides because I listened to her nonverbal cues. And that special experience happened that allowed us to move toward progression because I listened to her nonverbal cues. Now, I want you to consider how these silent words are affecting your relationships. Now, I want you to consider how these silent words can be affecting your relationships. So, number one, in your family, your kids may pick up on your stress, not from what you say, but from how you say it, or from your body language. You might assure them that everything is fine, but your hunched shoulders, your furrowed brow might be telling them a completely different story. The second one, in your love life, let's say a simple touch or a warm smile can sometimes communicate something more than 1,000 love letters. Here's a third example. At your work, your colleagues and your boss may perceive a level of interest and engagement, not from your verbal input alone, but from your body language and how attentive you appear during meetings. Sometimes you might even be trying to be respectful and show interest when you're not really interested in that project or that job, and you get put as the head of the committee because you seemed like you were really interested. There's a fourth example with your friends. Often our friends will understand our mood, our emotions. We don't even have to say anything. It's through facial expressions or gestures, even when you're not vocal about it. I've gone to my friends, we're planning to meet, we meet, and my friend looks at me and says, "What happened?" And I haven't said a word. They just know me and they care about me. So they're watching for those nonverbal cues. Here's a fifth example. Think about your interactions with strangers. Sometimes we're talking to somebody we don't even know, and our initial impression is largely formed by what they don't say, by nonverbal cues, by how much they pay attention to what we're saying. Have you ever talked to a stranger and as you're talking, they act like they're distracted and it feels like they don't even want to talk to you. So you're already gaining an idea of whether you want to be in a relationship with this person or whether you want to continue the conversation. We all know that nonverbal cues are everywhere. But how can we make sure we're using them effectively to communicate what we actually want to communicate? That the person receives the message we are trying to send. Well, I have 3 tips for you. Number 1, be aware of your body language. Your body speaks volumes. And if you're not paying attention, you could be sending a message that you don't want to be sending. Be conscious of what your posture is doing, what your facial expressions are doing, and what your gestures are saying. And you might be thinking, oh, brother, I shouldn't have to worry about that. You want to know what? If you have empathy and you care about other people, yes, you do want to be worried about it. Because this is a way, etiquette is a way that we show care for someone else. If I'm concerned that my body language, I don't want my body language to look like I'm not interested when my son is talking to me, it's because I'm being thoughtful of them. It's not because I'm trying to fake something or be something I'm not. Am I interested? Yes. Then let it show in all of the ways you communicate. One of the things you can do is practice mirroring the other person's body language to create rapport and understanding. Don't fake it, but when somebody is talking and they lean forward and they're like, ugh, or they fold their arms. Like, for example, I might be listening to a friend of mine and she's telling me something really hard she went through. Somebody was super mean to her. And I'm like, oh, you are kidding. So they're folding their arms. I'm not trying to do it on purpose. It's just I'm feeling for them. And so I end up mirroring what they're doing because I'm showing almost subconsciously that I feel for them. Wow. And I would feel that way in that situation too. Tip number 2, mind your tone. This is one that I struggle with because I am a passionate person. I get intense, I get opinionated, and that doesn't mean I think everyone should do what I want to do. It just means I start sounding aggressive when I'm not meaning to be. I just am excited, I'm passionate, I'm like, oh my goodness, we've got to do this. We lived in China for a couple of years and I was learning Chinese. And one of the things that they do in the Chinese language that I love is at the end of a word or a phrase, if you want it to be just a suggestion, you just add ba, like with a tone going up like this, ba. And so, for example, to go, you say do. And if I just say do, then that could sound like a command, like go, you have to come or you have to go. But if I say do ba, then it's like, hey, do you want to go? And I think, oh my goodness, I wish we had this in the English language because there's so many times that I say things and I sound like I'm commanding, but really I'm just excited or I'm intense or I'm thinking, oh my goodness, we have got to do this. And other people around me start taking it like, we have to do it. Like she wants us to do it. We're told. That's not it at all. I'm not even thinking that. I'm not feeling it. I'm just passionate. So that's something that I need to work on. Mind your tone. How you say something is often way more important than actually the words you say. Because if I sound loving, if I've hurt my husband's feelings or something happens and he, like maybe I said something that he didn't love, if I say, well, I'm sorry, doesn't mean the same thing as if I say, oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. Now, what if I say, I didn't mean to? That doesn't sound nearly as nice as I'm so sorry. But what if I say, I'm so sorry? Fine, I'm so sorry. But if I say, oh, I didn't mean to, honey, the tone of voice changes everything. So really watch it and make sure that your tone matches the message that you're trying to convey. And I will work on this too. My 3rd tip is listen with your eyes. Pay attention to others' nonverbal cues. I don't care how shy you feel. I don't care how, you feel like you're not interested. Then end the conversation quicker. Don't sit there and shift your eyes away and help them to, that creates a feeling of awkwardness. It's not your fault what they feel, but it creates awkwardness. And that is so not kind and thoughtful and caring. So you don't need to keep having a conversation you don't want to have. But don't sit there and use your body language and all your nonverbal cues to try to send this message that you're afraid to say out loud. You see how I get all passionate and I sound all aggressive? But I do love you. I really do. If you listen with your eyes, not only do your eyes focus on the person who's talking or the person who you're trying to show respect to, but you also will start to notice nonverbal cues. So understanding their body language and their tone can help you better understand their feelings and their intentions. And I'll tell you what, in relationships or in business, I don't care what kind of situation you are dealing with, you will have better results and more success, more progress if you will watch for these nonverbal cues and really try to show care and treat them like they're important. And I'll end with what's in it for you. Why should you do this? Because there are 3 major benefits that you are going to have if you will do what I've been sharing with you. Number 1, stronger relationships, of course. When your words match your actions, trust is built, and it enhances your personal relationships and your professional relationships. I can promise you that when my tone matches the message I'm trying to give to my husband, it goes over so much better. Because do you think my intention is ever ill? No, I'm never trying to hurt him. I'm not trying to be unkind or thoughtless. But sometimes I am, or sometimes it comes across that way. And so when I talk with him, if my tone and my body language match my message, then I get much better results. Number 2, the second benefit you get is better understanding. We all want to be understood, and clear communication reduces misunderstanding. It makes collaboration smoother, it makes them more productive, it helps us be more efficient, and when we feel understood, it's a really interesting thing. We all have more to give, and then the world becomes a better place. The third reason this is a benefit for you is because it enhances your personal image. Why does that matter? It's not because you're trying to make everybody think you're something you're not. It's not because you're trying to show this fake image. Who are you? Are you a kind, loving person? Are you someone who wants to reach out and help other people? Are you someone who wants to improve your relationships? Then act like it. When you do these things, your nonverbal cues are in sync with your words, and it portrays you as a more confident and credible individual, which, by the way, you were put on this earth to contribute what you have inside of you. And if you are credible, people will listen. And one of the number 1 ways you become non-credible is when the words and your tone and your message doesn't match what you want them to receive. Because all of a sudden you're known for something different than you're trying to be known for. So these are 3 huge benefits that will change your life. And here's the twist. Nonverbal communication is not only about getting your message across to other people, it also influences how you feel inside. Did you know that by simply adopting a confident posture, you can actually feel more confident? This is something Tony Robbins uses in his events all the time. It is powerful. It's actually really fascinating. So try just standing taller, even if you feel shy or uncomfortable, or you feel like you're not very good at communicating. Stand tall and strong, and when you feel confident, guess what happens? You start acting kinder. Because when you feel not confident, you feel like you have to protect yourself, and you stand back, and you hold back what you have to offer. So I just want you to remember, communication is so much more than just words. It is a symphony of verbal dialogues, body language, tone, gestures. And I want you to be able to change your life and make it exactly what you want. I don't want you to just think different. I want you to be different.